Hey there, folks. So, last episode we identified the remaining items that I wanted to get in to complete the prototype phase. Now, I was planning on doing a full episode talking about all of them, but I decided no, I'm not going to do that. We're just going to get stuck in. So, the first one I want to start working on is the sleep system. Now, to do that, we obviously need to start recording and tracking what would be fatigue or things like that. Why are you complaining? IntelliSense is just being a pain and not loaded up yet. Alright, so anyways, what we're going to do here, this is not going to go into our complex stats. This is going to be part of our core stat. So up here under fcore stat fullness, I'm just going to copy this line here. Fcore stat fatigue, and this is going to equal fcore stat. We're going to obviously have a default constructor here. It's going to be 100, 100, and we're going to drop this at a rate of we'll start with 0.5. Now with that, what this fatigue stat is literally it's how tired is the character. This is going to be something that all characters, both the player character and any NPC, is going to have, because again, like I've mentioned in the past, I want a fairly in-depth AI system. So this is going to go, okay, let's take it and go, we're tired, let's go sleep. With that, now we've added that stat in, obviously we're going to need to expand our tick feature. So void tick fatigue, const float delta time. And I had mentioned many episodes ago, and I'll point it out now, previously I'd been going through using const float references. For your core base data types, you don't actually need the reference. It's less memory efficient to do a reference than it is to do just a straight duplication. I haven't gone through and fixed most of these just simply because there's a lot of them. That's something I want to do when I'm really bored, have nothing else to do, and I can't think of some other code work to do. So with that though, we're going to head into our source file for this component stat line, void tick health. So right down here, void, because IntelliSense isn't loading properly, so tick fatigue, const float delta time. Well, this one's pretty easy. Let's expand this. You can see with our tick health, well, we don't have a fatigue block. We're not going to be adjusting that at all. So, or we don't need that at all. So this is just going to be fatigue dot tick stat delta time. All right. So up here in tick stats, tick fatigue delta time. And there you go. You can see IntelliSense is finally caught up, and all of this is now no longer throwing errors. Apparently this still is. Yeah, it's still parsing everything. So these errors are slowly going to start going away, but not too worried about that. Okay, I'm going to save this here. So what else do we need to do? Well, we need to add this to our stats. So where is our just stat function? Just stat. So the reason why we're saying this is you can see in here we have all of our different stats. So let's go to definition here, cs underscore fatigue u meta. Oh, I missed the comma there. Display name equals fatigue. So we're going to copy that, obviously. Go back to our stat line component. Now in here, we want this as part of our default case e core stat fatigue dot adjust Oh, amount, and then return. So why did we add this in? Well, the reason for this is in a lot of games, you're going to have things like energy drink, well, survival style games, you'll have things like energy drinks and stuff like that. And this is the whole purpose for this. We're just adding that in. Now we also have get stat percentile. All right, so need to add that in there as well. Case eCore stat fatigue, return fatigue dot percentile. Simple as that. All right, so what else do we need to do for our sleep system? Well, we've got the fatigue in place. So next thing, we need a way to tell the game we're going to sleep. So how do we want to do that? We could put this on the stat line component. We could put this on the player character. We could put this on a bunch of different things. Now, the big one is the actual act of sleeping that is going to affect passage of time in the game. We want that on the player. We don't want our AI to randomly go to sleep and start calling the sleep system and cause things to really get messy. So we're going to start work with our player character. In the header, in our public section, if we can find it here, protected public, right at the bottom, I'm going to add in U function blueprint callable. Wow, I cannot type this morning. Void start sleeping, or start sleep. Now, the way I've designed this, there's a couple of different things we need to do. So first of all, I want to have the ability, like in Project Zomboid, to have an alarm clock. So I'm going to go const bool b has alarm equals false. Now, having an alarm, we want to be able to grab that information. So we're going to have a const int alarm hour equals -1. And the reason for -1 is I want that to be a default fail case. And then we want const int alarm minute equals -1. The reason for this is just basically a pass-through function. So we're going to create this definition because IntelliSense is actually working now. So with our start sleep function, how do we want to go about doing this? So first things first is we need to get our message manager. ATF message manager pointer. Do we actually have a reference to that? No, we don't. Okay. P message manager equals get message manager, and that's a function we have in our utility class that is designed to do just this, get the message manager. With that, you can see it is throwing an error. That's just because we need to pass in the U object, so we're going to just say this. So we need to have a catch case just in case there is no message manager. So if not is valid, p message manager. Oh yes, that's because that's if p message manager equals null pointer. We have to do that a slightly different case with the message manager. It's going to be logger get instance add message. I don't know exactly what I want the wording to be on here, but it's going to be pretty basic and follow our standard. Invalid message manager pointer. And this is going to be error level critical. and return, because we do not want anything else to execute as a result of that. Now, if the message manager is valid, we want it to make the broadcast message that we are starting to sleep. So, how do we want to handle that, and why are we passing this through to the message manager? Well, for anyone who hasn't watched that episode, the message manager is basically a singleton object that's going to be in every game level, or should be in every game level, which is why we have this null point check. And what it does is it's used to broadcast out to anyone who cares that we're about to go to sleep. Or in this case, we're about to go to sleep. It's used for any broadcast message. The reason being for that is it is literally just a pass-through, so that we don't need to have our harvest actors know about the chrono manager. It just needs to know about the message manager, so that it just subscribes to this message, and when it's announced, it does whatever it needs to do. But what do we need that message manager to do? Well, we're going to open up that first, because we need to add a new delegate. So, what delegate do we need to add? We need to add a, obviously, declare dynamic delegate, but how many parameters do we need for it? Well, I'm going to do I want to do 1 or 2? What I'm actually going to do here, how do I want to do this? Sorry, my notes on this were like, oh, I'll use a struct, but I don't know if I want to pass in a new struct on this. Yeah, no, I'm not going to pass in a new struct, so it's going to be 3 param. Now, what do we want to call this? This is going to be fPlayer sleep. Do we have a 3 param? Is there a 3 param? 1 param, 2 param. Yeah, there is. Okay, there. Dynamic multicast delegate 3 params. That's my issue. Is that it? Yeah, that is the right one. So fPlayer sleep event. Oh no, not sleep delegate. Okay, so what are the 3 params? Well, we need a bool, alarmed, an int, hour, alarm hour, and int alarm minute. Now this is where I was toying with the idea of a new struct. Instead of having 3 params, we could have just 1, which was the struct that contained all of the information. Do I want to do that though? No, we're going to leave it like this for now. fPlayer sleep delegate. Well, we obviously need to add that down here to all of our delegates. So, U property blueprint, if I could spell, blueprint assignable. And the reason for this is so if there's any blueprint actors, I cannot type today. The reason for blueprint assignable is so that if there is any blueprint actors that need to bind to this message, on player sleep. Is that what I want to call it? On player sleep? Yeah, on player sleep. And I missed the E off the end of that. fPlayer sleep delegate. Make sure I get this right because my typing today is abysmal. On player sleep. Okay, so we've got that. Now IntelliSense is going to throw an error on this until we do a build. And that's simply because this is stuff that's compiled into the generated.h effectively. Okay, so with that though, we need to now add a function to the message manager to say, hey, we're sleeping. So void player sleeping. No, player sleep event. I'm going to call it that. And it's going to be const bool alarmed, const int alarm hour, and you guessed it, const int alarm minute. So this is the function that we're going to be calling from the player character. God, I need to disable Copilot. I hate that. So let's go back to our player character. And how did we want to do this here? Well, it is pretty basic. All we're going to be doing is go p message manager are you an incomplete class? Do we not have a reference to that in here? No, we don't. Okay, so include base class message manager. Now, as part of IntelliSense, you can see quickly these two were grayed out. They've come back. That's because this was being parsed. Wasn't sure if these were included or not. The grayed out normally means it's not been referenced. So anyways, we're going to go back down here on player sleep event. Okay, so easy enough. B has alarm. Oh, I'm so bad at typing today. I'm just going to copy and paste these in, because then that way I don't have typo issues. B has alarm, alarm hour, and then alarm minute. Okay, we've got that passed through. So in our message manager, what we are going to be doing here is on player. What did we really? Yes, because we haven't built it yet. Sorry, I gotta keep remembering that. On players. Why am I never copying the last character? On player sleep. Broadcast alarmed, alarm hour, alarm minute. Now, why do we need this? Honestly, we don't. It is for future proofing. This is all going to be used. Well, actually, no, we do need this. This is for the Chrono Manager, because that's the next thing we're going to work on. But realistically, a lot of this information could just be like, we don't need alarmed. We could just go, oh, alarm hour is -1. We don't have an alarm. I want this in for completion, so that, or not completion, for consistency, so that if in the future we want to add anything based on this alarmed Boolean, we can. So, as I just mentioned though, this all goes through to the message manager. From the message manager through to the Chrono Manager. Now, for anyone again who hasn't watched those episodes, the Chrono Manager is, well, for anyone who understands the origin of the word chronos, time. It's my timekeeper, time of day, things like that. So with that, I wanted to create this as something to, or add this to the Chrono Manager, I should say, because it manages time events. I didn't want to add in like a new sleep class or anything like that. So how do we want to handle that? Well, what I'm going to be doing is in the time of day, time of day section. I don't want to put it in, I'm going to put it in the time of day. So because the other stuff is lighting, temperature. And Chrono Manager really should be Environment Manager, but I also have a different one of those from something else when I was trying to hook into the new day-night sky system that Unreal added in 5.5. But anyways, so before I get distracted and going on another diatribe, what do we need to add here? Well, first things first is going to be F timer handle. And the reason for this is we need a way to trigger the passage of time, like a jumping passage of time. I'm going to call this the player sleep handle. So what else do we need? Well, we need a storage variable for how many hours are we sleeping. Int hours to sleep. It's going to default to -1. We also need the alarm, hour and minute. So we're going to go int alarm hour equals -1. Int alarm minute equals -1. And then the other thing we need, and I'm going to do this as a U property here, is we need how quickly do we want our hours to pass. So float sleep tick interval. I'm going to default this to 2. 2. What this is, though, for anyone who's not 100% following along or is having issues understanding, this is how often after you start the sleep event are we going to skip forward our, for my case, our 1 hour, because I want things to be skipped forward based on an hour. So what else do we need here? Well, the next thing we need is the function that is going to be called by our player sleep handle timer event. Actually, the first thing we need is the function we're going to be binding to that broadcast from the message manager. So it's going to be U function. You need that so you can bind the event. Void player sleeping. And this is going to take the same parameters that we're passing out, which is our alarmed, all of these. So we can just copy this here. So this is what we're going to subscribe to the message manager with. And then we need, as I was mentioning, the function for our timer handle to call. So this is going to be another U function. Void sleep interval. Now this one doesn't need any parameters. So let's create these quickly. And then we're also going to need to create that binding to the message manager. How do we want to do that? So, excuse me. First things first, that is going to be in our, was it on play, I believe? Yeah, it should be in, begin play. No. P management is this. If yep. Because that's our, we have a pointer here. So P message manager. No, it's on player. Nope. Oh, I've already forgot what we called that. On player sleep. Dot add dynamic. It's going to be this reference to ATF Chrono Manager base. And then we want that function we just added of player sleeping. So what this is doing here is that's just saying to the message manager, hey, when you're going to call and do this on player sleep broadcast, include me in that mailing list. So, and then when you include me, pass that information through to this function. So player sleeping, let's go start working on that. What do we need to do here? So this is going to be the initial pass-through. What do we need here? If alarm hour does not equal -1 and alarm minute does not equal -1. Now the reason for this is we want to make sure when the alarm is called, actually no, it's just the hour, because we can leave, no, I want to use both. The reason being for that is this is basically saying, no, do I need that? No, we have just the alarm boolean. This is my issue from having the struct. So if alarmed, what this is saying is, do we have an alarm pass through? Okay, so if that's the case, alarm hour, what do we call that? Okay, so we have to do that. This dot alarm hour equals, that's not going to work because it's not static. I'm going to have to change the name on these. So alarmed hour, alarmed minute. And this is a good example of you need your naming conventions to make sense. All right, so we're storing that information. This is basically just to say, hey, we're going to be doing this based off an alarm event or not. So did I put a storage variable for that? Hours to sleep, yeah. And I think this is the other reason why I wanted the struct. Yeah, what I'm going to do though is else alarmed hour equals -1, alarmed minute equals -1. Now this is just a catch case to restore it back to -1 for if you have a long play session where there's more than one sleep event. Yes, and this is where I needed my data struct because we're not passing this in. No, I'm going to change this again. This is going to be a 4 param. So this is where also prudent planning. I'm just going to put this in as 8 for now. I wanted to add a function for this. So P message manager sleep for 8 hours. Event that's been updated. In here we need to do const int hours to sleep. Hours to sleep. Chrono manager base, we need to expand this function to const int hours to sleep. Copy you, go back to this and paste it in there. Okay. I'm going to change this to a lowercase h for ease. All right, so next thing we need to do is actually call our timer handle. So this is going to be get world, get timer manager, set timer, player sleep handle, this, a reference to our sleep interval function, sleep tick interval, and that is how often this is going to be called. And then finally, the last parameter there, false. Is it looping? This is important because we don't want it to be consistently called. We want it to be called sorry, and I missed one there. We need that as well. So this is no, we don't need that initial delay. So what this is saying here is our timer handle, call back to this sleep interval function in 2 seconds. After that, don't call it again. There's a reason for that because there's a couple other things I want to add in. Now, sleep interval. This one here, we need to go hours to sleep minus. So we're just dropping it down by 1. If I'm trying to think how I wanted to do this. Because yeah, that ticks it down by 1. So if alarmed hours is greater than -1, this is the case of check time against alarm. Now I'm adding this comment in because I'm going to be ending things off here in a moment, but then it's if hours to sleep is greater than 0, we need to call back to this function here. So I'm just going to copy this. And all this is saying is, okay, we've passed an hour. All of this has been done. Go back to sleep. So one of the other things I want to do is trying to think how I want to do this. Well, because there we need to also add in advance hour. But the big thing here is we need to add in a way to let the rest of the game know that, hey, we've just jumped ahead an hour. So we need to add in some other stuff. But at this point, folks, this episode is now running up to 35 minutes. I am going to end things off here. Next episode hopefully will be out, well, a couple days after this one, depending. I'm going to continue on with this. I've got a lot of this stuff planned out, so I should be able to get moving through it pretty quickly. But as always, folks, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you found this useful, feel free to like and subscribe. If you want to support, there is options to join as a channel member or one-off donations on Ko-fi. But as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey there, folks. So last episode, we were working on our sleep system, and I want to keep moving with that. So what we have here is so far we've got it set up that our chrono manager is controlling and keeping track of our time interval, calling through to this, and then we're going through to set a timer that every configurable period or interval, we're going to call through to our sleep interval function, which is going to do all of our logic for sleeping. Now, something I had missed, well, I didn't miss, I glossed over last episode, is I want to add in something called events. For anyone who has played Project Zomboid, you'll understand things can happen when you're asleep. So, did sleep, oh, sorry, we're adding a function in here, bool did sleep event happen. This is going to be, for the time being, just a very basic return false, because I don't want to focus on this yet. It's something for future expansion, and that's going to be after what I would call the prototype phase. So, what I want to do here, though, this is going to be called, and we're going to say, okay, we have passed an hour. We are moving things forward an hour. In here, we need to broadcast. We jumped an hour. Now, the next thing I want to do, if did sleep event happen. So in here, this is going to be event is triggered. Wake, comment this out, wake up player. So what we're going to have here is just a return. We are not going to re-trigger our sleep event because obviously this is something we need to get up. Deal with it, move on. Next. Well, how are we going to handle the alarm? So with the alarm, we're going to go if current time dot hour is equal to the alarmed hour. So basically we're saying, okay, here, okay, is it the hour we're meant to be getting up? Okay, that's great. The next condition we need is if absolute, so ABS, current time dot minute minus the alarmed minute. Now this one is going to be up to you on your threshold, but this is within how many minutes of the alarm do you want it to say it going off? So I want to use 15 minutes. Actually, no, I want to use 5 minutes. So what this is here is this is basically saying, okay, current time dot hour is the alarmed hour. Okay, current time dot minutes, we're within 5 minutes of that. So we need it to be current time dot minutes equals alarmed minutes, because we want to set that time specifically to that. I'm not worried about broadcasting the minutes. That there is some tolerance there where even though we're forcing a time change, it's still going to, like, I have nothing that's worried about a per minute tick, game minute tick, I should say. Well, now we need to wake up the player and subsequently return. Because again, we don't want to recall this timer. So we have our sleep event, we have our alarm checking, we have our still sleeping. Okay, so in this case, down here, again, we just need to return because we're just going to say, hey, keep sleeping. Otherwise, down here, wake up player. So, looking at our comments in here, what have we got? Well, event is triggered. This one we're not too worried about. Broadcast, we jumped an hour. This one we need to deal with. So, what are we going to do there? How do we want to handle that? Well, quite simple. It's another message manager event. So this one is going to be up here. No, I missed a comma there. It's like, why is that complaining? Declare. Oh, actually, this is a one param. So I'm just going to copy that. No, we don't need any params. So this is declare dynamic multicast delegate with no params. And this is going to be F forced hour change, because this is just going to be called to say, hey, we have jumped forward an hour, part of the sleep system. So copy this, and we're going to go down here to our other delegates, and again, you property that so that we can on forced hour change. Now we also need to add a function to be able to trigger this. So down here, void force hour change. Okay, we're going to create that. Not go to quick actions, create definition on forced hour change dot broadcast. No parameters, we're good there. In our chrono manager, well, how are we going to do this? So quite simply, p message manager forced hour change. We're just calling that function to say, hey, we've updated the hour by 1. Now this is something we're going to need to go through and deal with in a bunch of other characters. Things, well, classes, I should say. I'm not going to get into this episode, but this is going to be for things like, hey, plants, update your hour. Hey, AI, update your hour. What did you do for the last hour? When I get around to creating our AI manager singleton, which is something that's going to be coming up in the future, it's going to be like, okay, process an hour's change worth of, or an hour's worth of AI logic, things like that. So all this is doing is saying, hey, message manager, tell whoever cares we've jumped time an hour. Okay. Well, what do we have left? Wake up player. So let's add a function for that specifically, because we've got 3 places we're calling it. We don't want to have to copy paste our code multiple times. So void wake up player. Create that definition. Grab you. And we're just going to paste that in the 3 places that we have it. Now I've got semicolon just for quickness. So running through this just to explain, because I know I'm hammering through this pretty fast. I documented or wrote out all of this, and I actually spent quite a bit of time planning this over the last few months. So I know what I want to achieve, and I know I'm moving pretty fast. So going through, we have our chrono manager. When a player tries to sleep, ultimately this function gets called. Player sleeping. Alarmed, alarm hour, alarm minute, and hours to sleep. I'm probably going to end up redoing this so that it's a struct, because now I see why I had this implemented as a struct, because we keep adding parameters, which means we have to change our delegates, our functions, and everything. Putting it as a struct, it's a 1 param, and the struct itself is changing. So I'm going to be fixing that. But to explain this, so if we do have an alarm, we're going to grab our time. Otherwise, we're going to say no. The time is alarm times are -1. That's a default ignore case. We're going to set our hours to sleep to whatever we have passed in. And this is going to be passed in every time. And the reason being is, say you have, again, we'll use Project Zomboid as an example, because it's got a system. However they've done it, I like how it's been implemented. Say your character needs 4 hours of sleep, but your alarm is in 8 hours. You're not going to sleep for 8 hours. You're going to get your 4 hours of sleep and wake up. So that's the reason why this is always going to get passed in. Because following this, it's like, oh yeah. Actually, no, the way this is set up, it's not going to work. We need to add in this here. Copy that. Yeah, because here, so yeah, I was with that. So if the hours to sleep is is equal to 0, we want to, I've completely messed that up, we want to wake up the player. Because yeah, hours to sleep, this will tick down. Initially, we're advancing the hours, forced hour change. Did sleep event happen? Right now, we're never going to hit this. If it's alarmed, well, have we slept enough first? Yes, wake up. If we haven't slept enough, is the current time, the current hour, the alarm hour, all right? Is the current minute within 5 minutes? And it's up to you. You could create this as a variable. I might not. Is the current minutes within 5? Now, the reason we're using absolute is this could result in a -5. So if the current minute is 0 and the alarm minute was, and this actually is was like 5, that would be -5. Absolute just makes that an always positive. So we can do this simple comparison. Setting it to that minute just so it like jumps to the right time. Wake up the player. We're good there. Otherwise, if it's not alarmed, okay, do we have more than, do we still have time to sleep? Yes. Go through. Otherwise, hey, wake up the player. All right, so the wake up player event, how do we want to do that? Well, this one is going to be just a callback to the player character, simply because that's where all of that is going to be handled. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Wake up player. So we want to reset everything to our default values here. So I'm just going to go default these out. This just guarantees that everything's back to their default. And then it's ATF player character base, which we don't have a reference to. So up here. Base classes, player character. Okay, ATF player character base. Yeah, you're saying it's undefined. Let's actually make sure I've got the right spelling for that, which it looks like I don't. Yeah, TF player character. That would be why. This is equal to, what do we call that? PC in this case, equals cast ATF player character. Get world. Get first. Why are you not? What are you complaining about with that cast? Or is this just IntelliSense? Reach the memory limit. Ooh. Let me pause this video for a second. I'm going to see what's going on. Alright, so apparently in here there is a setting for enable 64-bit. I'm going to turn that on, see if it makes a difference there. But anyway, so we want get world, get first player controller. I believe that's the one, and then get character. So what we're doing here is we're getting a reference to the player character by calling get world, get the first player controller. Single player game, so this is always going to return the player controller. and then we're going to get the character assigned to that. From there, obviously, we want to check if not is valid PC logger get instance, add a message. Oh, IntelliSense, I really hate you sometimes. Error level EL critical. And following my normal convention, no player reference. It's actually going to put no player character for clarity. No player character reference. And then we just want to say return. This is a very bad case because there's going to be things like sleep effects, screen going black, stuff like that, that would not be addressed. So hopefully this is never going to happen. Well, next. Well, plain and simple, we need to add a function back to our player character. And what this is going to be, I want to make this a universal function. It's going to be void player sleep. Const bool b is sleeping equals, actually no, I'm not going to add a default value to that. Player sleep. Sleep, yeah, player sleep. I'll leave it at that. So back in our Chrono Manager, PC player sleep. False. Because we're saying, hey, wake up, you're done. Now, why are we passing this back to the player character again? Well, the reason being is, as I was just mentioning, we're going to have, or want to have, on-screen effects for things like fade the screen to black, play sleeping sounds, stuff like that. That is what this function is going to be for. So, from that, well, we're calling this here. I also want to go player sleep equals true. Start sleeping. Now, from the other thing, last episode, as I mentioned, we need to determine our amount of time to sleep. Well, how long do we want that to be? Well, that one should be dynamic. Back in our stat line, which I closed out. Component, stat line header. Down in our public section here, protection, public, where is it? I'm just going to add it down here. U function, blueprint callable, int get hours to sleep, const, because we don't want it return a modifiable value. This wants it to be what we want, whatever's coming out of this to be a constant and permanently stay that way. Why are you being a pain in my butt, IntelliSense? All right, give me a minute. I'm going to pause the video and I'll be right back. All right, that took a little longer than I wanted it to, but so be it. All right, quick action. No, it's not. Did you add it? Stat line component source. Should be at towards the bottom. Nope. There we go. Quick action, create. Now, right now, I'm just going to return 8. I haven't determined how I want to process this yet. I have a bunch of different potentials. The main one right now I'm going for is this. So 24 hours total times by 1 minus fatigue dot get fatigue percentile. This is what my current, well, actually no, 12, sorry, not 24, 12. So this is basically, I'm thinking, okay, 12 hours sleep total, it's the longest I want a character to sleep. However, if they are barely tired, it's going to be times by 1, so that keeps it at 100%. But if, say, their percentile is 98, this is going to be 0.02, which no, that was F math floor to int. That was the logic I wanted to do. Okay, so 12.0 times 1 point. Yeah, these, I want these all to be floats. So yeah, I'm going to go with that for now. So I'm going to add this to character define. So I've got you referenced, right? Yeah. Character defines your header file, right? In the data types. Skeletal defines death percentile. Define max sleep time, max player sleep time. I'm going to just set you to 12 F. So I'm going to use that because then I can adjust it here, and any other place I need to use it will be the same. Can I not just get hours to sleep? There it is. In the middle, I missed it. Okay, so this guy. Save everything. Going back to our player character now. So we'll change this to stat line. Is that what it's? Get stat line, sorry. Get stat line. Get hours to sleep. So, all right. Anyway, so with that, now this player sleep, this is where there is going to be all of our on-screen effects, things like that. So I just want to have a simple if B is sleeping. I'm going to do a return here. And the reason being is I want one set of code to execute or the other. Right now I'm just going to add in a simple camera fade. So it's going to be get world, get first player controller, player camera manager, start camera fade. Now this one is got a lot of parameters, so I'm gonna do this, and I'm actually gonna spread these across multiple lines. So the first one is from alpha. Well, we want that, we're starting it from no alpha. The next one is the to alpha. We want that to be from nothing to full. How long do we want it to take? Duration, I want this to be 0.75. No, I'm gonna leave that at 1 second for now. Again, these are some things you could add in as a define so that it's the same transition both ways. I don't know, because I want maybe a sleep event where it's a really quick wake up. I want groggy wake up, thing like that. I'm not sure yet. Now, what color are we going to? Well, it's F linear color. I just want to go black. There might be a dark gray that we could use, but that's that. Should fade audio. I'm going to say false for this. I don't want the audio to fade. I want background noises to continue. Actually, no. True. I'm going to fade. No. No, I don't. I'm going to say false for now. Leave it at false. And hold when finished. So if this is set to false, what'll happen is you'll have a 1 second fade to black, and then it's just going to jump straight back to being transparent again. We want this to be true. And that's the end of that one. Now, for the opposite, it's actually just quite literally going to be the opposite way around. We want it to start at 1, we want it to go to 0, we want everything else to be the same. Now, you could clean this up and have it where it's like B is sleeping. If it's true, we want this to be 0.0, otherwise we want it to be 1. I don't want to do that because I want these two separate code flows. But you could do that if you want. So I'm going to get rid of that though and leave it like this. So what this is doing here, basically we're saying, hey, fade out the camera if we are sleeping, fade the camera back in if we're not. Oh, is there anything else I've missed that I wanted to cover? We've got fatigue. Well, there is a, I'm trying to think. So we need a way to tell the stat line we're sleeping. So let's add that in thinking about it. Sorry, I was just looking at my notes. U function blueprint callable void is sleeping const bool B is sleeping. Okay, and then I need to add a boolean up here. Put that in there. Where's our others? Do we have anything else? No, I'm going to put it here. Bool is sleeping equals false default, and we don't want that editable, we want that just visible. All right, now at the bottom, let's go create this definition. Is sleeping. Did we call them both the same thing? Am I that much of a special case? Lowercase is sleeping. So this is going to be used for our tick fatigue. Yeah, tick fatigue is up there. Tick health, tick fatigue. If B, is sleeping, we're just going to return. The reason being for that is no, it's not that. Just that, sorry. It's going to be fatigue times, I don't need that. We want this to tick the opposite way, so negative delta time. Now, the reason for this is, as I've mentioned, we are going to need to bind things to the message manager, where we go to this forced hour change. And what that is going to be is on that event. I'm actually going to do this next episode. We're hitting up 30 minutes here. What's going to happen is we're going to have a function in here that's basically going to go, okay, how many ticks have happened in 1 hour? So how many times have we dropped this down, or have we ticked our stamina, whatever? And what's going to happen is we're going to call tick stat with a fixed delta time. So, but as I just mentioned, folks, I am going to end things off here. This has been, like I said, pretty fast paced for me. I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing. I've documented a lot. So, but as always, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you've liked what you've seen and enjoyed, please feel free to like or subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, there is the option as joining as a YouTube channel member or one-off donations through Ko-fi. You can find that information in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey there, folks. So, first things first, I will address the elephant in the room. Yes, I have transitioned over to using Rider. I was doing some digging into the licensing, and since the last time I looked, they have greatly improved their non-commercial use licensing, and all the stuff that gets around that. So I finally bit the bullet. I decided I was going to start using Rider. So yes, for all the people earlier on in the series who said, oh yeah, use Rider, and I said no, well, you won. So now with that, I will say I poked around at Rider a little bit. I do like it, but anyways, there is one mistake that I had left in from a previous episode, and that is here. On player's sleep, I had treating that as a pointer when I shouldn't. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to run a quick build. And for anyone who is observant, it said build succeeded. I made sure this was the only issue in the build since the last time I ran anything. So you can see that's now fixed everything up. Now, where we had left things off, on forced hour change, that was going to be something that we processed for our stat line and for everything else that we're going to use later on, things like our AI manager, stuff like that. So where we're going to start is stat line component. We're going to go into its header file here, and we're going to create a new function. U function blueprint callable void trying to think what I want to call this. Forced hour changed. Now let's see, what was that? Because yeah, this doesn't have any delegates, does it? Go to declaration or usage. Forced hour change. Yeah, there is no parameters for that. One of the other things we're going to be doing is we're going to be fixing up this delegate, because this 4 param, it's way too much. Just 1 param with a struct is what we need. But anyways, so with our stat line component, we're going to, this is one thing that it's going to take me a little bit of getting used to. Begin play. So P message manager on forced hour change dot add unique dynamic. This U stat line component on forced hour changed. I've got an extra set of quotes, brackets in here that isn't needed. All right, so what we're doing with that is basically we are just saying whenever that 1 hour time has passed, we're going to be broadcasting this so that our stats can be updated. So now, what are we going to be looking at here? So, right in here, calculate tick rate per day. We are adjusting our ticks based on our day length. So, int day length in minutes, we need to start with that. I never actually created that definition. All right, so we're going to start with that. Now, honestly, this is, I'm doing some placeholder logic, and we're going to move this into a better spot. And then where was calculate? Okay, so in here, how are we doing it? So we're getting the tick rate, day length in minutes times day. Oh no, we're adjusting our tick here. Trying to think. Day length in minutes. How did we want to do this? 1 divided by... I think that's just it. It's 1 divided by. Now I gotta find where I put that. Again, I'm still getting used to Rider on that one. Okay, day length in minutes. Int. No, float tick rate equals day length in minutes divided by 24, because that would be equivalent of 1 hour. Then what we're going to call is tick stat with that tick rate. Now, I am not 100% sure if this is the correct formula, but that's what we're going to start with now. So we'll obviously add a breakpoint in here. Now, one of the things I like about Rider, it's actually one of the things I decided to move into. As I mentioned, I wanted to fix up this one here, the player sleep delegate, is I can just go right click in here, add, and you see it's got Unreal class, things like that. It includes a lot of that stuff here. So we're going to call that, this is going to be F sleep data. It's going to be a struct. It's hooked into my Git repository, so I'm just going to do this. And it added in both to that, and we don't need that. So edit, delete that. So include core minimal, include f sleep data dot generated dot h ustruct blueprint type, and then in here it's just going to be public. Okay, so what do we need to add into this? We need, I'm just going to copy this here actually, and we can clean this up. All right, so helps if I spell sleep. Sleep data generated.h. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so up here, include, and this is in our message manager header, data type f sleep data.h. We're going to change this to a 1 param, and this is going to take us a bit of work to fix up. So delegate, and then it's going to be this, and then sleep data, and we can get rid of the rest. Not 1 param, not 1 params. All right. What are you complaining about? It's just not. Okay. Well, for the sake of making sure this is going to work, I'm going to run a quick build, and I will be back as soon as the build is done. Oh, and it finished already, and I actually know why. It's been a little bit, so generated body. Missing that. So let's try this again. Okay, this time it's actually building, so I'll pause the video and I'll be back once this build is done. Alright, so that build is done, and as expected, and for anyone wondering why I did it, yes, the build failed. The reason being is I wanted to make sure that I knew where to start from with fixing things up in regards to changing these input parameters. So we're going to get this one fixed up. It's the first one there. Now, I'm not going to do pause the video every time because these should be quick fails now. But there was 2 reasons I will explain. One was to get this delegate, which it's still complaining about. Oh, now it's not. To update within everything. And then the other one was to what do you call it? Oh, yeah. So F player sleep event, we need to fix that. That's down here. All right, so that's that one. This is going to also be one of the issues we've got. On player sleep, I had dynamic this player sleeping. Okay, so down here again, player sleeping. Okay, well here we need to go F sleep data. Okay, now we need to fix this one up. Well, that's also going to be in our declaration. Go to declaration or usage. This one is probably going to not F. Okay, no, that one worked. All right, so back here. Okay, so let's fix these up. Alarmed. So it's going to be easy enough because the way I copied and pasted to create this struct, it is just going to be preface these with, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to copy just this. Is that working now? Yeah, there we go. Apparently I can't spell minute. There we go. Okay, so alarm.minute. Okay, now let's see. Does this build? And the whole reason, and this is for anyone wondering, that I'm doing make some code changes, build, make some code changes, build, is it's going to identify places that are broken as a result of this code change. Like it pointed out, okay, this function here was being bound. Here we go. We got another one that I didn't find. Okay, so a player character start sleep. Okay. Let's fix this one. F sleep data. And we're just going to pass this through into message manager. Oh. Actually, no. We're going to create that here. So we're going to go F sleep data. Sleep data. And we're just going to populate all of this. But yeah, as I was saying, this is the whole reason why I'm doing these build, fix, is it's going to find all these places in the code that need to be fixed because we changed that delegate's parameters. And here we go. This time around, it's worked. So we've got that here. So now the next thing we need to do is, because I want to move through and start testing this. There is one thing we're missing though, and that is we're missing a sleep actor. Or a bed actor. Now, there's a couple of things. Actually, I want to look at this in the public section, the headers. So we could derive our sleep actor from TF actor, but I don't think we need to, because as of right now, I see no reason for a bed to need the save actor interface. What it needs is our interaction interface, but that's it. So in here, we don't have just a base interactive actor. So base class, right click, new Unreal class, select actor, TF bed actor base. We want to keep all of this in here. We're going to go OK. I'm going to get rid of a lot of this other stuff. And we are going to get started here. So include, well, we need to include our interface. So include interface, interaction interface. Interaction interface, and then from there, let's go through, copy these over. And this is just so we have the C++ variant of these set up in here. So we have interaction, interact, and is interactable. All right, so this one, I'm going to be doing all of this in header. This is going to be return ftext. Actually, no, ftext from string sleep. The interact implementation. Oh, what are you complaining about there? Does not have. Oh, yeah. So just quickly finish this up. So, what I get for not paying attention? Return true. So what this is, get these in the right places. Is these are what well, they're, I don't want to say what they're called. In in that case, these are header only functions. Basically what that means is it doesn't need to move through and do additional logic from the source file, because we are only ever returning one thing. Interact though, we need to generate that. Now I do not want a bed to ever tick, so I'm going to change this to false, and I'm going to get rid of the tick function, and we're going to clear that out of the header as well. Oh, and again I missed override. Alright, so what do we want to be doing with this? So, well, it's going to be I'm only worried about this for the player character for now. Include base class player character. If ATF player character pointer PPC equals cast ATF player character caller actually, no, we don't even need that. What did we add to our player character last episode for that? Player sleep, start sleeping. I believe that's the one we want to call. Yeah, so invalid message manager. So we're not storing a pointer to that. We're populating everything. Okay, so this is going to be the test function. Start sleeping. PPC start sleep. I'm going to say false. I'm going to say, and then leave these at default. Now, in here, this is a very basic setup. So, I'm going to actually, I'm just going to do a straight build. So I'm going to build and then hop into the editor, and we're going to do a quick test for this. So I will be back as soon as we're in the editor. All right, so we are back in the editor here. One thing I don't currently have within my assets is a bed. So let me just see what we've got in various different... I'm going to be more, but I'm going to use the body bag. But for now, let's get this actor created. So, blueprints, dev. Bed. TF bed, actor base. Dev bed. Open that up. Now it has, this is very basic. There's no root static mesh or anything like that. This is a very basic class. Once this opens up, let me just move these out of the way. As you can see here, there's nothing to it. This is just a base interactable. Probably something we could have used as a class, but either way, let me just go to find something we can use for a bed. Yeah. As I mentioned, I'm going to be morbid. I'm going to drop in, and we're going to have a body bag. So compile that, and let's see if this actually works. So filter with that, dev bed. Okay, and I'm going to go, oh, come on. Well, you don't want to work. Okay, let's go put that up here by the mushroom. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do here quick, we're going to hop over to Rider. I want to go through and actually bed actor base on interact. I'm throwing a breakpoint here so we can step through everything. So we're going to hit play. And apparently I've got breakpoints in places that I don't need. Why do I have a breakpoint here? Oh. Alright, there we go. Let's go over. Jump up. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting our sleep text. So let's interact. Okay, so step in. Message manager is not a null pointer, so we're good there. It's false, and everything else is there. Now let's see, what is our hours to sleep? 0. Okay, so let's see if the rest of this works. Oh, we got our screen fade. Okay, so let's try, and so it's 13:10. Let's see what happens here. I'm just going to get rid of this breakpoint quickly, and we're going to continue. And you can see it jump forward there to 14. Fade out, jump, fade in. Well, I've got 2 hours, so. Anyways, with that though, now let's go take a quick look at our, where is that, forced, oh no, that was in our stat line, that was where it is. Quickly look at that. Throw a breakpoint here. Okay, let's try one more thing. Oh, there's Mr. Wolf down there. Okay, so day length in minutes is 6. Tick rate is, oh, what do we get? 2. That doesn't add up. So we're going to have to do some work on that there to get the correct time, because, yeah. No, 2 seconds. It's, so that would be the equivalent of 2 seconds would be 1 hour. No, that isn't right. So obviously with that, there is, this math is wrong. We are going to need to correct that. But other than that, though, you can see what we've added in here is actually functioning sort of as intended. Things are jumping. Oh, and this is where we're not unsleeping. All right, so we have something else to look at there. Let's try this again. Yeah, why do you keep... Okay. Jumps from... Okay, I jumped an hour. $14, $15. That might have just been because I was dropping all those breakpoints in there. Nope, there we go. We have something that is causing this to break. All right. Well, I'm actually going to end things off here. A bit of a cliffhanger. Next episode, we're actually going to fix that so that the player wakes up properly. As always, though, folks, thank you for watching. Hope you found this useful. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Hop over on the Discord. I do tend to respond to things quicker over there than I do in YouTube comments. If you found it useful, feel free to, as I say, leave a like, comment. If you want to go that little extra mile, there is both YouTube Supers and membership, and there is also Ko-fi for one-time donations. As always, though, folks, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode. Hey there, folks. So I know last episode I ended things off sort of complaining, well, not really complaining, but with the statement that there was obviously a bug in the sleep logic with specific regards to the fade. After doing some digging, it's actually not. So the issue I was having is there was no light source in the world for overnight. My skylight wasn't working. So I want to show this here. So I'm going to hit go to sleep here. We're going to fade out, fade back in, do this a few times. I'm not going to repeat it all, but you can see the world keeps getting darker. And then here it's pretty dark. And it was around this point things were starting to fade to black and not refade. Well, here, I was never looking around to look at the sky. I'll sleep one more time. Bring it into, what's that, 8-ish? 9 o'clock? And I think I'm sleeping for 2 hours at this point. But you can see here, it is pitch black. If I turn the fire off, it's still pitch black. And that's what the issue was, is there was no light source. So everything just seemed like the fade was breaking. So with that, though, I wanted to get that out of the way, that the fade is working perfectly fine. There is no issues there. There is issues elsewhere with the skylight, which I'm pretty sure I do have one. Yeah, I do have a skylight, but it's not correctly updating, so I don't know if it's my environment manager has broken or something like that. I haven't dug into that component of it yet. But anyways, the next thing I wanted to do is we also had that issue with the amount of time that was being passed per tick. So I'm going to want to fix that. We're going to hop over to Rider. And in here, it's this. I actually made a little note to myself of what the issue was, is we aren't doing the full calculation. This needs to be improved. Well, I'll just do it this way, should be what we need there. It's the day length in minutes to get seconds. We want to divide that by 24 to get how many of those is an hour, and that should address the tick rate problem. So I'm going to stop debugging, obviously, and I'm going to run a quick build because I want to test this. So I'm going to put a breakpoint actually at the start, and I'll pause the video. I'll be back once we have gotten back into the engine after this build is finished. Alright, so we are back in the editor, and let's give this a quick test, see if we've got our tick rate fixed. Okay, so day length in minutes. Let's try and step through this. Hopefully, yeah, so day length is 60. Tick rate for an hour, so 60 times 60 is 3,600 divided by 24. Give me 1 second here. Just wanted to pull up my calculator here, so let's do it this way. 60 times 60, 3,600 divided by 24. So effectively there is a 150 ticks. So that should be right. Now let's see how badly this actually messes things up. So let's step into tick stats. Delta time is 150. We want tick hunger. So hunger.current is 99.98. That's about right. 99.7. Yeah, that drops that down. Okay, so we'll step out. Blood should be 0 anyways. Fatigue. Let's step in here. Okay. Is sleeping. Oh. Okay, maybe not. 98. 99. Let's try this one more time here. We're going to resume. Okay, let's go with tick thirst. It is currently 99.93. It drops down to 98.6. Tick fatigue. Compiler optimization. Well, let's just resume, and we're going to look at our stat line. So character, third person character, stat line component, stats, fatigue. So that is going down. I'll just sleep again. I'm going to just jump through all of this. Oh, we got... Let's get rid of this breakpoint. Now, this is something I noticed with my testing. Certain breakpoints can screw up with the timer. So let's do it this way. Before we do that, we're going to select our character and our stat line. So our fatigue is slowly going down. Does it jump up? No, our fatigue is going the other way. So why is that not working? It's meant to be going up. So let's look at our bed actor to start with. Bed actor, on interaction, PC starts sleep. The alarmed is false. Okay, so let's go to that. Start sleep. I think the issue here is we're not actually setting that. Clear sleep. It's down here. We're passing it in here, but we're not. Oh, I think I see the issue. I think we have a duplicate variable. Let's go back up to tick fatigue. In the player stat line. Yeah, we're not setting our stat line. That's the issue. So, okay, down here in our start sleep, we're getting the hours to sleep, but we're not doing that. So what I want to do is actually down here in player sleep, we're going to do that before we do the fade. Is sleeping, is constable, true. And then we want down here, is sleeping, false. I believe that's the right way. Let's go take a quick look. Is sleeping. Yes, we're setting that value based on that. So let's stop, rebuild, and check on this one and see if that fixes the issue. Alright, so we're back in the editor. Let's see if this... Actually, gotta go put those breakpoints in. And that was... stat line... Oh, my brain is not wanting to work today. Forced hour change. Right there. Throw that breakpoint back in. Try this again. All right, so we've got our everything here. Tick rate should be 150. We already know that. Step in. And from there, let's go down to tick fatigue. Is sleeping. Why? Is that being ticked before? Let's get rid of this breakpoint. We'll just look at our stat line component. And see how that's going. Okay, fatigue. Slowly ticking down. Sleep. There we go. It goes back up. Okay, so that is what we wanted. So that cleans up the last of the stuff we needed to do to get the sleep logic working. Now, just quickly, this is going to be a much shorter episode. Not with that, the next episode, I have had a few people mention to me that there is currently some issues with weapons. I'm going to be looking into that in the background just to see if I can figure out what's going on. But the next episode, I actually want to start jumping into some of the UI. That is going to be really basic stuff in C++. The first episode is actually probably going to be more design work, and showing what my intentions are, how I want to, like, what I want to achieve. And then following that, there's going to be a lot more C++ UI work. But if I manage to figure out there is a problem with weapons, or handheld equipment, between now and then I will record another episode and get that addressed first. But as always, folks, thank you for watching. Again, as I mentioned, this is a shorter episode. I just wanted to clean up the couple of things that I had left broken in the sleep system, at least that I'm aware of at this point. As always, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Hop over onto the Discord, ask questions there. Still, Discord is a better place. I get notifications for that a lot more easily than I do through YouTube. Found it enjoyable, found it useful, feel free to subscribe, drop a like. If you want, join as a member. Or I have one-time donations available through Ko-fi. All that information should be in the description below. As always, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.